Hey friends, it's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, and I'm coming to you from beautiful, sunny Northwest Ohio. Today it is just gorgeous out, but it wasn't just last night. We had a really late frost. It actually didn't frost much here where we were at. My garden ended up being saved, but we did have a frost threat. And I know just a little bit north of us, I have friends who already had entire gardens planted, and the frost just destroyed what they had planted. So it's really unfortunate. This is about 3 weeks later than our last expected frost. I typically wait to plant out until Mother's Day here just because I know that there's always that chance of a late frost, but this is even later than Mother's Day. So I was out scrambling to cover my plants last night, and thankfully my garden was spared. I have held off on planting my tomatoes and peppers. I'm going to have to wait until probably the middle of next week because the extended forecast was showing temperatures dipping down into the mid 40s up until the middle of next week. So I'm very thankful that I had held off on planting those, or it probably would have stunted the growth of them with the temperatures getting down into the mid 30s last night, but also it would have been a whole lot of work to try to cover them. So I'm very grateful that we were spared, and I'm just thinking of everybody who wasn't as fortunate, who kind of lives a little north of me, because we are not supposed to have frost this late. But it seems like the pattern of the last couple years seems to be that we're getting frost a little later into spring, and so I'm making mental notes and planning accordingly for future years' gardens. So anyways, today it is gorgeous, and so I'm going to be cooking outside today. Adam took the time on Mother's Day to help me kind of get everything set up for me to move my life outdoors. If you follow me for a while, you know that come spring and summer, I just want to be outside, and so I set up a whole summer kitchen. We have an outdoor tub even where I bathe the children, or where we can soak under the stars, and it is lovely. And Adam was able to help me get that set up as a Mother's Day present. We got it all ready, and so I am ready to move outside once the weather finally is there and we can do that. And so today I'm going to be cooking a meal outdoors and all of that, and I want to show you how we're using our sun oven. I want to show you the setup of our outdoor tub. But I also have a really exciting announcement for you. Well, at least it's exciting to me. Hopefully you'll find it exciting. And I want to share that after we do a little bit of a garden tour and kind of show you what's going on out there. I will be back, and I'm going to share some fun news with you. Here is our outdoor tub setup. You can see it's all right here. Adam helped me lay river rock down here so that we don't have to mow in here. And this is the tub that we have. Adam got that tub at a boxing gym that he used to work out at. They just had it sitting there somewhere, and he said he would be happy to take it off their hands. And we had it sitting on the property for a couple years before we got it all set up, and now we use it for this purpose. And this is our outdoor portable propane water heater. We can just hook the hose up right to that with a propane tank, and then we can fill the tub with nice hot water for bathing, and there's actually a shower attachment for it too. Here's that tub that I mentioned. We have a tiki torch and citronella candles just in case mosquitoes are an issue, but we don't tend to have mosquitoes much around here. I have my chair where I can sit and watch the little boys while they bathe, and then here we can drain the water out to the driveway, or I can collect that water to use to water plants if I want to. So this is our outdoor tub setup. It is so nice to be able to bathe the little boys at the end of a day when they're all dirty and not bring the mess inside the house. And it's also just really amazing to take a bath under the stars. If you've never bathed outdoors, it is quite wonderful and relaxing. So we just decided to decorate a little bit. I get these solar twinkle lights. Our last set lasted us 3 years outdoors, and they finally died, and so I had to purchase a new set. But these are just solar powered little twinkle lights, and we like to put them up just to have a little bit of light out here if it's dark out when we want to come out and soak in the tub. And I know for some of you, it probably sounds crazy to want to bathe outdoors, but if you have lived out on a homestead or spent a lot of time outdoors with little children, They get just really messy. And it's also really fun to let them bathe out here. They can splash as much as they want to. Sometimes we'll just put them in there to let them play in the water, even not for bathing purposes. It's just a fun way to keep the mess outside, and this is just what works for us. We really enjoy it. So I'm very excited to have that task all done, and now my garden is almost at the point, it's probably about 80% planted at this point, with all of my summer crops, and I'm ready to get to the point where we're just maintaining. It's been a lot of work juggling such a small baby and getting everything planted this year on top of everything else that I'm doing, but I'm glad we are almost there. So far in the garden, I have planted radishes, potatoes, we've done cucumbers, spinach, carrots, lettuce, kale. I'm trying to think of what else. Lots of herbs, every herb you can think of. Celery. I've got my okra seeds planted, pole beans, bush beans, peas, onions, garlic. We did a new bed here of some rhubarb. We did a new bed of asparagus, strawberries, and then just lots of other random things that I'm forgetting. Zucchini. I have yet to plant. What I still need to do is my winter squash. We're trying a form of butternut squash that I've never tried before this year that is supposed to be squash bug resistant. My friend Sarah from Living Traditions Homestead sent me the seed, and I'm very excited to try it. I also need to get my tomatoes and peppers planted. I do those mostly in containers and buckets around the outside of the garden. Here's some that are all prepped and ready to be planted in, and I'm hoping to get them planted soon. And then I have some beds out there that we'll put more peppers in and things. But we're getting there. It's been, quite a process trying to get it all in, but we are almost there. So you're probably thinking this is a pretty small garden for a family of 10, and it is. We cut our garden size in half several years ago just to make it more manageable for me. But it's amazing the amount of food you can fit into a small space when you garden year round. So as I harvest crops from beds, I will fill them in with new crops. For example, once all the garlic is harvested, we'll clear that bed and we will plant more cold weather crops for the fall. And as we harvest potatoes, the same thing. So a lot of these beds will get planted in 2 or 3 times throughout the season, and we'll just continuously harvest food. Speaking of harvesting food, I finally have some lettuce here that's ready to harvest. And I wanted to show you the 2 ways that you can harvest lettuce so that you can continue to grow your plant. So the first way, you can see I'm just cutting the outer leaves of the lettuce plants off, and then the inner leaves will continue to grow. The second way you can harvest it is just by chopping it almost like you would a ponytail. You just grab the whole plant and chop it and leave an inch or 2 at the bottom, and then new lettuce will begin to grow out of the center of that plant. So that's another way you multiply harvest. Never just pull your plant out of the ground. You can harvest things so that they will continuously grow throughout the growing season for you and maximize the potential of that plant. So we are very excited. This was winter sown lettuce that I did in the milk jugs for you over the winter. And because it had a little bit of a head start on the growing season, it's now ready for us to eat fresh salads. And this was a wonderful treat on this particular day. So I just decided to look around the garden for some other goodies. These are my perennial garlic chives. The children absolutely love these. They just come out and grab handfuls of them and chew on them, and it's so good for them. I decided to chop a little bit off. That's another plant that if you give it a haircut, it will just continue to grow throughout the year. So I need to freeze dry some of that here soon and get it powdered up. And then this is my radish bed that I never thinned out. I had children help me sprinkle the seeds into this bed, and you can tell that we way overseeded it. And normally I would come out here and thin it, but the radishes are doing well. So I'm just pulling some of the larger ones out. And as I pull the larger ones out, it will give room for some of the other radish bulbs to kind of bulk up a little bit before I'm ready to harvest them. But we love radishes in this form with the bulb. We also love radishes once they go to seed. They produce an edible seed pod that is so delicious. It's like a very mild radish flavor that is in the shape of like a green bean. And so any of these that end up bolting, we will just eat as pods. I also cut off some green onion tops there, and all of that together is going to make our first salad of the season. I'm so excited about this, to have fresh greens. There's nothing like creating a salad straight from the garden. The chlorophyll still pumping through those leaves as you eat it. It's just healthy and fresh and delicious for my babies. So I got my lettuce all washed up. Now we are going to work on these radishes. So this is my favorite way to eat radishes, is just in our salads. If you're someone who doesn't like the taste of radishes raw, another favorite way to eat them is to roast them. Sometimes I'll just add them with potatoes and turnips and some other root veggies, and they definitely sweeten. They're less harsh, less of that harsh radish taste once you roast them a little bit. But I just love to eat them raw. It's a treat. And as I'm in the garden lately, I'll just grab some and rinse them off with the hose. And we just really, really enjoy the taste of fresh vegetables after a long winter of eating our preserved food. It is very nice now to have some fresh vegetables available. We're just going to chop up those chives, and now I'm going to make a salad dressing. So this is one of those salad dressing containers. It came from my grandma, and it's one of those that has the markings for where to put your vinegar and oil and water. This one was a Good Seasonings brand. And we don't buy the Good Seasonings packets, but I use this because it was in my grandma's kitchen when she passed away. I inherited it, and it works perfectly for making salad dressing. So I take the vinegar line, and I'm filling that with our homemade red wine vinegar. I made that last summer with you guys. You add a little bit of water, and then I add olive oil. So it was probably about a half a cup of vinegar, maybe a fourth a cup of water, and this is maybe a cup of olive oil. And then I purchased an Italian seasoning blend from Azure Standard in bulk here, and this is what I typically make my salad dressing out of. I'm probably going to add about 3 tablespoons or so of that. It's a little healthier alternative to the packets of Italian dressing seasoning that you get in the store. And then we just shake that up, and we have a wonderful red wine Italian vinaigrette that is going to go perfect with our homegrown salad here. Sometimes I'll switch up the vinegar flavor, and I'll do some of my peach scrap vinegar instead of the red wine, or we'll do apple scrap vinegar. Now I have some pineapple scrap vinegar that I'll use. It all just tastes amazing. Okay, and I also want to make a dessert for tonight. So I'm going to get my sun oven warming up. I'm going to set this out and facing the sun and let it warm while I work on the ingredients inside. You can see that dial. We have an all-American sun oven. I'll link it in the description. We use this a lot in the summer just to keep the heat out of the house when we want to do some baking. And I decided to make a fruit cobbler for this particular meal as the dessert. So I got about 2 cups of flour in there. I did about 1 1/4 cup of sugar. Now we're going to add, it looks like I'm doing 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Up next, we're going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to add about 1 1/2, well, first I need to mix my dry ingredients together. Then I'm going to add 1 1/2 cups of almond milk to it as my liquid. Get that all mixed together. And then in last week's video, I showed you some of those fruit extracts that I had made, and I figured this would be perfect for a berry cobbler. I'm adding a little bit of that blueberry extract that I had made just by soaking freeze-dried blueberries in vodka for about 8 months it had been soaking. We just added that, and it gives it a little blueberry flavor punch to the cobbler. Now we're going to get out a pie dish here. I have some lard, and I'm going to grease this really well. You guys know I love to make this. It's a really easy breakfast that I can make in the morning. And on some days, I just don't feel like making a pie because rolling out a pie crust is a lot more tedious, I guess, than doing this. I can get this put together in less than 10 minutes, and I have a great dessert or a breakfast treat for the children. And I alternate what kind of fruit that I put on the top. You can do anything. We had some homegrown blackberries from last summer that I need to use up before we have blackberries again this year. So that's what I decided to use for this particular dessert. And then we're going to get this out in the sun oven. It's all heated up and ready to go. As you can see, I've had to change the positioning of the sun oven to follow the direction of the sun throughout the day. And then this will slowly heat that. We do not have central air in our house, so it's very important for me to focus on not heating up the house with the oven during the day. And the solar oven is a tool I use to accomplish that. It works great and it's free. I'm using the sun instead of having to use electricity, so that is a bonus blessing. Now we need a drink to go with our dinner. I'm going to make some lemonade. I have a pint of frozen lemon juice. I squeezed those lemons last January and filled the freezer with tons of jars of that. And I'm going to add about 1.5 cups of sugar. We're going to fill it the rest of the way with water, and that'll be what the children will have to drink with our dinner here. And then I had some leftover bacon from breakfast, and I have a quart of the canned lima beans from my last video, and we're going to make some refried lima beans. And then for our main entree, the main dish, I am going to grill out. I have been trying to grill more because Adam normally handles it, but this year I'm setting it up and I am purposing to grill more. We have our regular charcoal grill there. We were gifted this green egg by a family member who didn't want it. They prefer to grill with charcoal, and so that's what we're using for smoking this summer. And then I have this Camp Chef. This is my propane stove that I can use, and I have a cast iron griddle that I can put on the top of that to cook breakfasts and things, and I'm all set up now for cooking outside. You guys know we had to tear down our deck in order to do the project to fix the cellar around the house. We no longer have a deck, and that's where we used to set up our outdoor kitchen, and so we're definitely making do here this year with the gravel and the lack of grass and everything in our backyard. A deck would be wonderful, or some kind of patio, but the excavators that did the cellar project told us that we have to give the house, or give the work that they did, a year to settle and make sure that everything worked before we add any permanent structures around the house. So this year we're just living with this very awkward outdoor kitchen setup, but you know what? It's going to get the job done and work just fine. I'm very excited about trying out this green egg that I mentioned and smoking meat out here with it this year. I'm sure I'll do lots of videos on that. I have a whole book on using the green egg that I'm studying up on. And once I feel confident in my ability to use it, I'm going to be cooking. But for now, we're just going to use the regular charcoal grill. We have some homegrown chicken legs from last year's chickens that we raised. We do either Freedom Ranger or Cornish cross meat birds, and we have yet to start growing our meat birds for this year, but I'm sure that's a project that we will begin probably toward the middle of June. I'm going to get those chicks and we'll start raising that. We also have a friend that grows our pork for us, so we are going to add some pork chops here. I sprinkle all of this grilled meat with Montreal steak seasoning. That is what we like on our grilled meat, and it works great if we choose not to marinate it. This is how we like to flavor it. So as I mentioned, typically Adam is the grill master in our house, but then that limits us because of when he gets home from work. That limits us to only having grilled meat usually on the weekends, and I love grilling meat. It's one of my favorite meals to have. So I decided that this year I'm going to take over the task of grilling and try to do it a little more often throughout the week. It can definitely be a challenge keeping an eye on all of the children and the grill and making sure everybody's safe, without Adam here to help have an extra set of eyes. But we're making it work, and we love it. This turned out great. So let's see how our final meal here turned out. We have our homegrown salad that's looking lovely. We have our lemonade, our blackberry cobbler, our grilled pork chops and grilled chicken legs, and then our refried lima beans with bacon over there. All right, so as I mentioned earlier in this video, I do have some exciting news, at least exciting for me. You guys know that every winter I love to do a pantry challenge. I do it in the months of January and February, and I document all of that here on YouTube for you guys using the hashtag 3 Rivers Challenge. And lots of other YouTubers joined me in the last couple of years, and it's been so fun. You can search that hashtag both here and on Instagram, and you can find, thousands of posts and videos from people that show how they're participating in the pantry challenge. And it was so fun for me, and I still, as you can see behind me, have jars of food to use up from last year before I prepare for this year's food preservation season. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do a pantry challenge in the month of June. There are several reasons for me wanting to do this, besides just wanting to use up the last of this stuff so that the jars will be empty for me to refill them from this year's harvest. But also, I was thinking about some of my friends that live on the southern hemisphere of our planet. They're usually in the middle of summer when I'm doing my winter pantry challenge, and they're not typically able to participate in the same way. So I thought this would be fun. It would give people in the southern hemisphere who are now in winter a chance to participate in a pantry challenge during the winter on YouTube. And it also gives some of us who typically do pantry challenges during the colder winter months an opportunity to test our pantry challenge skills during the growing season. And in June here in my zone, there's not a ton that is growing, but there is enough. As I showed you on my garden tour, we have lettuces that are going to be very abundant soon, so we'll have fresh greens to eat. There's things like radishes. We're going to have peas very soon. Even the mulberries are typically ready on our property in the month of June, so there will be plenty of fresh produce to incorporate into my typical usual meals. And so I thought that might be fun to document and show you how we eat differently from our pantry during the growing season versus during the winter months when we're eating off of what we've preserved. So it'll kind of be a mix. Since it's the beginning of summer, we will have some fresh produce, and then my job will be to eat up the rest of what we have freeze-dried and canned and in the freezer, because I need to make space for this year's food preservation season. So I'm very excited to do that. Another bonus of this will be, it's just an opportunity for us to save money. There'll be a month's worth of groceries that I will not be spending. And I think it will prove to make me more mindful and intentional about using the things that are in my garden, and even using the things that are growing on my property that I forage for and things. I'm going to have to get creative to come up with our fresh veggies and actually use what we have. So I'm very excited about that. I hope you guys will join me either here and or on Instagram. I'm going to be documenting it both places, and I'll just do what I typically do through the winter pantry challenge, and we will have one video a week that will just show all our meals. And so hopefully you guys will enjoy that. The other exciting news is that starting in the month of June, this pantry challenge will be happening, and I'm also going to be moving to 2 videos a week, and hopefully that will be a blessing to you guys. I'm going to stick with the typical Sunday video, which will kind of be a weekly recap, either of homesteading videos that we've been doing, or if it's in the middle of a pantry challenge, it will be our week of meals. And then the other video will come out on Wednesdays, and the goal of that video is to pick a more specific topic, because my weekly recap videos just kind of throw a bunch of information and projects at you, and I don't really go in depth into a lot of those. And so I'd like to focus on one specific topic in a Wednesday video, and it'll be more like this, sitting down and talking to you about that, and then doing some kind of tutorial to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So hopefully you will enjoy that. You can look for those videos on Wednesdays, and then as usual on Sundays starting in the month of June. So that is the wonderful news that I have. It's been a great day of working in the garden, showing you guys what we have going on there. And I've been busy cooking a meal for my family, so now we're going to sit down to enjoy that. I hope you all have had a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Once again, if you would like to join us on the 3 Rivers Challenge starting June 1st, just use the hashtag, and I'll be able to find your videos or your posts on Instagram if you use that hashtag. All right, friends, that's it for this week. See you later. Bye.